Hello, and welcome to another episode of Drawing on Fridays, the Landon Experience Show. In this episode, I'm going to be taking this piece, which was started in an earlier episode of Drawing on Fridays. I think it was episode 4. And I'm going to be basically taking it from this stage to a more finished drawing. And then in the end of this episode, showing you the final inks. So stick around. You'll see how I take it from this kind of rough sketch to a little bit more finished pencils to get ready for inking. And then I'll be showing you the final inks, which I do off camera because I do like to slow down when I'm inking and not try to bang something out in a half hour. So these episodes are about a half hour, so let's start the timer and get going. Set timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes, starting now.
And let's begin. So, alright, I just have these pieces of tape to let me know where the paper is, so I'm not going off camera here. Alright. So what am I doing? I'm squinting and trying to transform this drawing. I could, I guess, start inking already, but I like to get it a little bit more figured out in the pencils first. There's more than one way to skin a cat, of course, but as I squint and look at the piece, I'm just sort of using my intuition to guide me here. And yeah, I don't have a roadmap. I don't have a photograph. So this is all just imagination creation. Imagination creation. But you know what? I'm going to get a little bit thicker pencil here to kind of work a little bit faster here. So as I'm squinting, I'm trying to imagine this thing because I found that the pieces I do that are the most successful pieces are the ones that kind of go beyond. This may sound strange to some people, but they kind of go beyond just being a drawing. They evoke a feeling. They evoke a mood. They, I mean, that is the purpose of art, People don't look at art because they're like, oh, look at those, a motorcycle going by. He might think that. I don't know. Oh, look at those, lines on a paper. They look at it to evoke a feeling or a mood or something that goes sort of beyond the medium itself, if that makes any sense. And yet the medium is the medium. So this isn't a movie. This isn't anything more than a pencil drawing on a piece of paper, right? But if you want it to go to that other dimension that I think would resonate with people, then you have to kind of look beyond that. You have to almost think beyond the medium itself. Just my opinion. But could be true. So yeah, so these Drawing on Fridays episodes, they're about a half hour, and I do try to work fast. You'll find a lot of people online that show art videos, and many times, in order to not bore you too much, they're using time-lapse photography and things like that. But I'm not doing that here. This is, real time here. And so, for those of you that like to slow down a little bit and watch something happen in real time, you'll like these episodes. It is a challenge to put them out weekly for me, because although I have some talent in some areas, I guess being a whippersnapper talker, regardless of the day or my mood, isn't one of them. I'm not going pow, 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 just like constant. I mean, I was looking at Instagram the other day, and I'm just thinking, man, everything is just mania. People are just entertained by manic expressions, manic behaviors. Whatever is the craziest, it seems like, will get the most attention. And that's not what I'm about. That's not to say that sometimes a situation doesn't call for that, or if you're having fun, you couldn't go there, but it seems like that's all that it is half the time, or more than half the time, so eventually I just get tired of that and don't want to watch anymore. We used to live in a social media-less world back in ancient history about 10 years ago. And then since, I don't know, whenever social media started becoming a thing, it just seemed like overnight I started seeing like Facebook advertisements on all of the products that they sold in the store. Like, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook. And I started thinking, what the heck's going on, And the world seemed to change overnight. See, these things in here are just kind of little shadows, which I don't know how good you can see that, but trying to just get a little bit more. I mean, the picture was there when I started, but I'm just trying to get a little bit more definition of what's going on here. Hold on a sec. Sometimes I start getting a bunch of stuff on my fingers and get smudgy everywhere. So let's get my trusty old. You guys ever use these things? These mechanical erasers? They're pretty cool. I did put in some new batteries here. The last episode it was dying. Yeah, you guys, if you enjoy these episodes at all, drop a like, drop a comment. I appreciate that. I am planning to stop doing these temporarily right around episode 26, which in my mind would be enough episodes to finish off a season 1. So I'm planning to do these weekly until episode 26. And then I'm going to take a break, recalibrate for a little while. And then, I'll record some more episodes and kind of get some more ideas going and get some more things done. And then at some point, I'm not sure the time frame yet, but I will be, unless I drop off the face of the earth or something happens that is out of my control, then I'll be back for season 2, which would start around episode 27. The episode I'm working on right now that you're watching is episode 16. So if you like anything you're seeing here, go back and watch some of the other episodes. For instance, if you want to see the genesis of this piece, you need to go back and watch episode 4, which I'll leave in a link in the description for you. And the cool things about the first episodes is you kind of see the genesis. You see it go from a white blank piece of paper all the way to a finished where you saw the beginning of this episode I started. But the cool thing about these episodes, I got another motorcycle. Could be the same guy. Maybe he was going to the grocery store earlier and now he's coming back home. The cool thing about these episodes is seeing more of the finishing. So if you add up all together, the penciling time is only happening in about the space of 1 hour. You see what I'm doing here? I'm using my mechanical eraser to just cut in what are negative shapes and what those indicate to me, and then I can go back with a mechanical pencil and just, since the light's kind of coming from this way, just add in just a few little subtle hints of the other side of that. And then what those are little spider webs. Which I don't know how much you can see in the camera, but they're little webs that kind of come off this headstone. Sometimes I don't even on the side that the light's hitting. Sometimes it's more effective not even to draw a contour line and just sort of indicate it. Like I don't connect every single section here, but I just kind of use my intuition of what looks cool, or try to anyway. And then just getting more and more refined as I go here. Yeah, that's basically it. I'm gonna add some on these grasses that kind of cut across, just adding a little bit more shadow on the shadow side of those. That's weird, but I kind of like it. These would be, when I go to ink it, it'd be all kind of like crosshatchy in there. These drawings that I'm doing are for my Halloween-based Etsy store, Etsy shop. LandonHuberArt.etsy.com. I'll get this little bit salesman-y on you here. That's LandonHuberArt.etsy.com. Link in the description, guys. You will find one-of-a-kind, awesome Halloween art tees and prints. That means if you want one of these, and they're sold in their final form as fully colored illustrations. So if you're watching this episode, you are seeing the creation. But if you're interested in, if you're like, man, that's a really cool picture, I'd like to have that on a t-shirt. Well, these ones I'm currently working on will be available in their finished colored form on my Etsy store. And right now I have about 60 listings over there. So, check it out, guys. You're going to find some cool art. And they are available in t-shirts and prints. Various sizes and colors. So, another thing, as long as we're on the promotional train here, because I'm also a musician, you guys should go check out the music on this YouTube channel. I got all sorts of cool stuff you guys should check out. Around 2013, early 2014, I put out my first music album, which I recorded and wrote all the vocals, instruments, and lyrics and songs and everything myself. So it's a solo album, and it's called Creature of Emotion. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's got some really good music on there. You guys should check out. Just check it out in the playlist section of this YouTube channel. Also put out on YouTube only right now another cool album called the Hole in the Wall Gang LP, which has a lot of funny but yet good songs. You should definitely check that out. The Hole in the Wall Gang LP. It's on this YouTube channel also. I was also in another experimental sort of, I don't really like using this term, rap rock, but because it combined elements of rock and rap, that's the easiest just sort of definition that you can use to explain it to people that only have 5 seconds, But it's actually really cool. And we put out 3 albums. Robots in the Zone. You should check that out also. And what the heck, there's even another... I was in a group with a friend of mine called Enclaved Soul. And that's more like heavy metal style music. And my friend is a really good guitarist. And my function in the group was more We so far only put out one album, but it's a heavier sound, and it's like, I would call it metal fusion, metal like alternative grunge fusion, because there's kind of elements of both. Me coming from the style of music which I like, which is more on the alternative grunge side, because when I was growing up, that's what I fell in love with, that kind of music, and him coming from more like the proggy metal stuff. I've tried to. He didn't used to like, and he'll probably watch this episode at some point, so that's fine. But he didn't used to really be into groups like the Beatles and stuff when we were teenagers. But over the years, I kept pushing that. I'm like, no, man, the Beatles are awesome, you know? The Beatles are incredible. And I think finally, like years later, he finally started, liking them. If you always like the Beatles, Verge, I'll call him, then my apologies, but I think I kind of had to sell you on them. My thing with the Beatles was, at first I really only knew about their sort of early 60s stuff, like I Want to Hold Your Hand and the stuff on the Meet the Beatles record. And then I saw them when they were doing their first American tour. I saw like the old black and white video footage of them, and I thought it was incredible. And but then years later, when I was like in my early 20s, my friend Luis showed me this whole other side of them. Showed me, and like the Sgt. Peppers and all their psychedelic era stuff and Beyond, White Album and Abbey Road and all that. And then I just kind of realized at that moment there was this whole other side to the Beatles that I wasn't even aware of yet. I wasn't around in the 60s when it was actually happening, but when I got exposed to it, I would say it changed my life. And I would say the same with like the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson, that when I was a kid, I grew up listening, like my parents listened to Surfin' USA and Fun 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 and all the early hits of Brian Wilson. And maybe I would hear like some of the Pet Sounds stuff on the radio. I think, yes, I did, but I didn't really know what it was. I was like, what's this amazing music, as a kid, just affecting me. And then later learning about Smile and Pet Sounds and all that, and about Brian Wilson's musical genius, and that also had a profound effect on me. Anyway, what's the time? Alright, we got about 6.5 minutes left of this episode. So hopefully I showed enough to kind of... It's really, at this point, it's just getting down to like detailed work, There's almost only so much I can kind of do to get this a little bit more fine-tuned before I'm ready to ink it. And it's all just in the details, so as more graphite starts to get on this, start just getting more smudges everywhere. And since I have kind of sweaty fingers, it can be a problem sometimes. I do need to remember that my camera's going to turn off in about 5 minutes. Otherwise, near the ends of these episodes, I have a tendency to keep drawing, even though nothing's being recorded. Because I mean, that's the thing. Again, with like these drawing episodes. See, I was struggling with the moon here to know how much detail I wanted, and I don't really want to show all the craters and things because I don't want to bring too much attention to that moon. So I'm probably gonna leave it kind of detailless and just kind of have these lines kind of flowing through. Keep the balance in the piece, you know. And what the heck was I talking about before that? As I'm getting older, my brain is starting to veer off in these weird directions, and then I can't remember what the thing was that I started down that rabbit hole. Whiskers. Art is a fun thing because if you're watching a movie, I love good movies. And I just saw Miyazaki's putting out a new movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing that because that dude is brilliant. And I really like his movies. But the funny thing is, I just talked to my wife and I was like, hey, we gotta go watch the new Miyazaki movie, you know? And she was like, you know, I'm not really interested. I was like, what? Because she's Asian, she's Chinese, and Miyazaki's Japanese, but you know, there's some overlap in like Asian culture, and I would think she would be really, you know, interested. But and I said, so why aren't you, you know, why don't you care to go watch the new Miyazaki movie, you know? And she was like, I don't understand it. Or she says it's hard to. She said it's hard to understand. That his movies are hard to understand, which some of them are. I didn't really understand the Castle in the Sky, even though I loved the imagery. I was having a little bit of a difficult time following the plot, but I think when he gets the balance of the story and the surrealism that is inside of his work, that's when he really like hits the nail on the head, you know. And yeah, he's Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki, man. They really make some great things, and you know, I'm not really big into like all the different kinds of anime out there. But his is next level. His is something I'm really into. And we are just refining shapes a bit. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for a second so my camera doesn't shut off. Alright. So again, my camera shut off. But here we are back. back in action, as it were. And just kind of noodling these little details and giving myself some little bit more pencil work so that when I ink this, I'm putting the lines in the right place. You know? There's a timer. Actually, that timer is a little bit off. I'm going to go for another minute or two because the camera had stopped recording. And another little tree branch here. Well, whether you're watching this episode before Christmas or whether you're watching it after Christmas, I hope you guys have or had a good Christmas. And hopefully next year will be a good one. Hopefully we'll get some more art out there. Hopefully. Now you can see, like, by going around with this mechanical pencil, it is improving it because it's these little tiny details, you know, that after I've blocked in kind of these heavier areas, that the only place to go now is the little details. And then there's certain things that really only happen in the coloring, you know. Little magical coloring effects and things like that. But we are coming to the end of this episode. And again, this werewolf guy, he's grabbing a tombstone, which is kind of a mixture of the folklore with within itself, or however you would say that. It's not werewolves and gravestones. I guess they're not always go together, but in my mind they go together because they're both spooky Halloween things, and I like spooky Halloween things. As long as it's creative and fun in some way. Don't like just mindless gore. I guess I got into that for a little bit when I was younger. Just being a 18-year-old or whatever. But these days I'm much more into like classical horror. Than anything like that, splatter, gore, or whatever. I don't have any interest in anymore. Alright, that's going to wrap it up. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this episode of Drawing on Fridays, the Landon Huber Experience. I could keep noodling on this forever, but we got to call the show. So thanks for coming by, and thanks for watching Drawing on Fridays. Share with your friends. Until next time, have a good one. Stay tuned, because coming up next is the final inks. See you guys.